Yeah, I'll react to that, sure.
Once it was the
Hey guys, regular things that are illegal in the UK. I've seen a few weird laws in the UK videos, but I've not seen this one. Preemptive, like infographic show. Let's go.
greatest
That rhymes.
superpower in human history, as well as a place where you had to pay fees to have
Hope you're
facial
all doing
hair,
well.
and where handling fish suspiciously is still a criminal offense. These are regular
Sorry, what?
to have facial and where
A fee to have facial hair.
this superpower in human history, as well as a place where you had to pay fees to have facial hair, and where handling fish suspiciously is still a criminal offense. These are regular.
I've heard the fish one. The beard one, maybe it's harder to identify you, so in like a police investigation, so you can wear it but just pay a fee. The fish one though, that's not an intuitive law whatsoever. Something had to have happened with a person and a fish in the past that made them make that law, and I would love to know what that was.
Things that are illegal in the UK. Not practicing archery. Everyone has different hobbies and interests, but up until 1960, it was actually illegal to not practice archery in England. This law may no longer be around, but it's without a doubt one of the strangest laws ever enforced. But why was England so hell-bent on forcing all adult males to practice archery? Were they putting together the biggest Robin Hood cosplay in history? Not quite. It actually has a lot more to do with the French. Well, to be honest, with the rest of Europe. See, for a long time, England's favorite hobby in the world was to fight literally everybody. Though its feud with the French has lasted so long that this 140-so-year break in the bickering and fighting is more of a pause. In past days, few archers were as feared as English longbowmen, who combined great accuracy with incredible power.
It's been 140 years since the British and French were fighting. 1883.
These massive bows could deliver arrows hundreds of yards and were powerful enough to pierce.
They're huge too. I saw a video of people firing them. I think it was History Hit, and the thing, it's a giant. It's more like a spear than an arrow, from what I saw.
Even steel armor breastplates. As an added bonus, longbows were extremely cheap and quick to manufacture. While each sword or shield cost a significant sum and days of labor to make, a good longbow took a fraction of the cost and the time. That meant the English could outfit many, many longbowmen, a handy thing when you're constantly at war. It was thus required that the English men regularly practice with the longbow, as any one of them could be conscripted at the drop of a hat. For a time, accidentally killing someone with a longbow was also not punishable by the law. All this went away relatively recently when the Unlawful Games Act.
Even the arrow part, I get it. Okay, I don't want to act stupid and like it. So they're waging the pros and cons. The cons, you might hit someone and kill them, but the pros, you don't want to discourage people from practicing out of fear. Okay, I hope that was.
Of 1541 was replaced with the Betting and Gaming Act of 1960, using of 15 by the law. All this went away relatively recently when the Unlawful Games Act of 1541 was replaced with the Betting and Gaming Act of 1960, using your phone to pay at a drive-thru. Modern technology has created an absolute wonder in your pocket, a device capable of looking up any information you could ever desire and letting you speak in real time with any human being on the face of the earth who also has a phone. But perhaps one of the most convenient uses of a smartphone is the ability to pay for everything from online purchases with a swipe to stuff in the real world with just a tap.
Allowed.
Even before the pandemic, many businesses were adding contactless pads for payment, and now they're all the rage. You simply tap your phone to the pad and presto, your payment is complete. But pull that stunt at a drive-thru in the UK and you'll be facing a fine of £200 or $59.17 fish and chips. Why? Because the UK takes a pretty stiff stance on using your phone while driving, and unless you shut down your engine or engage your parking brake, quickly tapping a phone for a payment at a drive-thru window before grabbing your food still counts as using your phone while operating a motor vehicle. If the bobbies catch you doing it, you can expect not just the aforementioned fine, but 6 points on your license.
Well, what's the difference between showing a wallet and a phone in terms of danger? I guess you can only use a wallet for paying for things, where discourage having your phone out at all. Okay.
No getting drunk at the pub. Shortly after the invention of alcohol, mankind invented the pub, a place to go and consume said alcohol with little to no judgment. Pubs are great local watering holes where you can catch up with your friends, your community, and catch up on all the gossip. Just don't go thinking you can get drunk at one, because it's 100% illegal to get drunk in England at the place designed for you to get drunk. Per the Metropolitan Act of 1839.
So it's just in public.
It is illegal for the keeper of a public house to permit drunkenness on premises. So every time you push past getting tipsy, you're basically breaking the law. And so is the pub owner and bartenders. In the U.S., many places have policies that forbid their bartenders or waitstaff from serving more alcohol to someone who is clearly drunk. But the UK codified this into law with the Licensing Act of 2003. So next time you're out for a bender, make sure you keep a sharp eye out for the fuzz, or you might end up getting sober inside a jail cell.
Okay, how serious is that, and how much of that is just kind of, because I'd imagine, yeah, come on, that's got to be just like a, there's no way that you get arrested just for being, because what is drunk? Like, at what point, like, is it fall down, can't stand up, and then you're actually arrested? So I'm really curious here. If this is a law, if it's not followed, then whatever. But if it is, what is your experience with the threshold of when you have to actually be worried? That's got to be exaggerated.
Make sure you keep a sharp eye out for the fuzz, or you might end up getting sober inside a jail cell. Handing fish suspiciously. We've all been there. You're walking down the street when suddenly you spot a guy coming your way. In his hands is a large bass, and he's holding it in a most suspicious manner. Is it a weapon of some kind? Is the fish stolen? Is it even a real fish at all? You may never find out, but make the move in England and you can rest easy that nobody will ever handle fish suspiciously around you ever again, because it's illegal. What in the world does this law refer to exactly? You think it might have to do with sushi, perhaps. After all, is there anything more suspicious than supermarket or gas station sushi? But no, this law heralds back to the Salmon Act of 1986, when salmon attempted to overthrow the throne and take control of Britain for themselves. Well, not really, but that would at least be a good explanation for this weird law. Instead, the act was instituted to try and clamp down on illegal fishing, poaching, and shady trading of fresh fish, with fish stocks declining around the world. Illegal fishing was hurting the very populations that the British people depend on for their beloved fish and chips.
So why not just have that as the law? What? Okay. All right. And what is that, Adolf? What?
And nobody, we mean nobody, messes with Britain's fish and chips. Hitler tried once. Look what happened to him. The Salmon Act of 1986 punishes anyone receiving or disposing of salmon in an illegal manner. But the act has been expanded on to include other fish, such as trout, eels, lampreys, and smelt. We had no idea lampreys were even edible. But we're fully behind any regulations that seek to protect wildlife populations from exploitation and overfishing. If you live in Britain or plan on visiting, make sure that when you buy fish,
it is so much less interesting than what I expected, and I'm kind of disappointed. I thought like someone back in the day was trying to pull like a bomb or something and hit it in a fish that he was carrying. And so they're like, ooh, like don't walk with a fish when you're in like a non-fisherman outfit.
At the supermarket, you don't handle it suspiciously, and you should stay on the right side of the law with this one. No police or military costumes. In the U.S., a large network of volunteers works to identify and publicly out individuals impersonating police or military personnel. Called Stolen Valor, the effort has been highly successful in identifying people who may have tricked even friends and family with false accounts of service, often accompanied with a hefty amount of fake military medals. However, it's not illegal to dress like a police or military member to an extent, as long as you're not actively trying to fool people into thinking you are one. Hence,
you have to be like a slutty cop on Halloween or something.
Why the two professions remain the costume of choice for Halloween parties and Chippendale shows. But in the UK, they take things a bit more seriously. According to the Seamen's and Soldiers False Characters Act of 1906 and the Police Act of 1996, it's illegal to pretend to be part of the military or police. We're not really sure just how far the UK government is willing to go to punish you if you showed up to a party as a sexy policeman, but given the punishments for handling fish suspiciously...
I want the answer to that question he just asked for every one of these laws. Not just this one.
And getting drunk in a pub, we're not sure we want to push it either. Carrying a plank of wood. Maybe you're helping a friend with a home renovation. Maybe you're...
Okay, I've heard this one too. Now, so they're like 3 and 3 at 3.
Just putting up a new bookshelf. Either way, you're walking down the sidewalk with a large plank of wood when suddenly the Rozzers are slapping handcuffs on you and dragging you to jail. You just made a big mistake because in London, it's illegal to carry a plank of wood on the sidewalk. According to Section 54 of the Metropolitan Police Act, you cannot carry a plank of wood along the sidewalk unless you just recently unloaded it from a van. So, if you're bringing a spare plank of wood to your neighbor or perhaps bringing it out to throw it in the bin, congratulations, because you just earned yourself a whopping 500-pound fine, or 151.52 fish and chips. Why does London take such harsh stance on builders? We're not sure, but perhaps there was a spree of plank-related crime that we're unaware of. Either way, if you plan on building some new bookshelves in your London apartment, maybe try dragging your new shelf instead of carrying it. That shouldn't technically be illegal. Just forget about wheels, ladders, or poles, which are also illegal to carry down a sidewalk unless you've just unloaded them from a van, which kind of makes us think that at some point London was plagued by a circus-related crime spree. Knocking and running. It's a childhood game as old as doors. A group of children gathered together, egging on...
I love how, like, the plank of wood, he doesn't really know, but the one I was hoping would have a super cool story just didn't.
One member to run up to the nearest house and give the door a good, loud knock. Then the group flees, giggling all the way until they stop and the next member builds up the courage to knock and run. If you're ever on the receiving end, it's mildly to moderately annoying. But as a child, it's undeniably great fun. Try it in England, however, and you'll face another fine of 151.52 fish and chips.
$500? I mean, I did that when I was a kid. Not like incest, not it wasn't a weekly, like oh yeah, but sure, I've done it before when I was very young, you know, 13, 14.
Fish and chips, or 500 pounds. The Metropolitan Police Act of 1839
makes
maybe the activity of willfully and wantonly disturbing any inhabitant without lawful excuse a criminal offense. And if caught, you'll basically be giving up your allowance for the next few years. No lingering after a funeral. Funerals are somber, very sad affairs. Nobody wants to attend one, but unless you cut all ties with family and friends, you'll eventually have to. As a time-honored tradition, funerals allow loved ones to say goodbye to the deceased and can help process the grief of tragic loss. Typically, there's a small graveside ceremony with a religious figure of some sort, some words of comfort, and the group might recollect some fond memories of the deceased. Then you have one final chance to say your goodbyes before the coffin is lowered into the grave and the dirt is piled atop it. It's a very difficult affair for most people, and the finality of it all can leave people processing it for days or weeks to come. But you don't dare linger around the gravesite after the ceremony is officially done in England, or you'll be answering to the bill as they come to give you a stiff fine. Some of the laws in this episode obviously are rarely, if ever...
That's a bit... Because that's a situation... I don't like that, because that's a situation... Okay, is he pulling my leg here? That's a situation where someone in the moment just isn't going to care about money or any other consequences than what they're already, like, paralyzed and confounded from doing. I understand, like, asking to move along, but don't give them a ticket.
But sadly, this one was in fact enforced in 2015 when a man was fined 160 pounds, 48.49 fish and chips, for lingering an extra 20 minutes at his wife's grave. No doubt.
Come on. And god dang, he's using fish and chips for the
48.49 fish and chips for lingering an extra 20 minutes at his wife's
grave. How many hamburgers is that?
No doubt caught up.
I'm an American. I can't understand the fish and chips unit.
0.49 fish and chips for lingering an extra 20 minutes at his wife's grave.
That's awful.
No doubt caught up in the grief of his loss, he was still forced to pay the fine for a law meant to allow the grave diggers to work undisturbed, which was actually a valid concern for a Victorian-age England that was rife with grave robbers looking to sell your deceased friends and family to unscrupulous doctors that wanted to practice their surgical arts.
Right. Maybe well, it's not Victorian era anymore. And you just said in 2015 this happened. Jeez.
This is a law that can be officially retired, but for now make sure you head home briskly after the casket's in the ground, or Britain will fine you for being sad. No cutting in line. Nobody likes a line cutter.
Oh my God, I am so done. I am so done with this stereotype that British people, what country doesn't get in lines? What is this? Oh, a queue is such a British thing. It's not. It's just like the most basic concept.
It's basically one of the first things you learn not to do in preschool. Sadly, there's still plenty of people who are fully functional adults and still think the world revolves around them, and cutting in line is no big deal. Try that in the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, though, and you'll get slapped with a monstrous 1,000-pound fine.
Please, okay, maybe I'm wrong.
03 fish and chips. To be fair, the law applies to cutting in line at the subway, or tube as it's called across the pond. And for once, this is a law we are fully behind and would love to see implemented at basically anywhere.
Yeah, I'm fine with that, but damn, 1,000?
Perhaps especially at concerts and nightclubs where jumping in line is habitual to the point of criminality.
Oh, I'm just waiting for my friend.
Who hasn't honked their horn in anger after being cut off or because the guy in front of you is too busy texting to see that green light? Try that in jolly old England and the plot will have something to say about it. The law expressly forbids individuals from sounding their horn aggressively after being annoyed or frustrated. It's also illegal to honk a horn while the vehicle is stationary or in a built-up area between 11:30 p.m. and 7 a.m.
You know, that would make stuff safer, because that way, not because of like you'll be arrested, but just so people know that if they do hear a beep, it is like an emergency beep. Okay, so I kind of like that, I guess, but I would also be in jail.
Violate this law and you'll face a fine of 50 all the way to 1,000 pounds, 15.15 to 303.03 fish and chips. Now check out insane laws that still exist in the US, or click this other video instead before we fine you.
God. Very interesting. The funeral one is pretty ruthless. Hope you guys are doing well. I'd appreciate it. A few of these I definitely seen. I hadn't seen the funeral one. I hadn't seen the beard one, or the pay with the phone one. The fish one, dang. I learned finally what the cause was, but it was disappointing.
Punishments
and the line cutting one, I didn't know.
Fish suspiciously and...
Hope you guys are doing well. Would appreciate any and all comments, and I'll see you next time. Bye, guys.